Hey, what's going on, folks? It's Mike here, and welcome back to my Modern C++ series. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about a new tool called constexpr. Now, we've been talking about various metaprogramming things like enable if, sphere, concepts, and of course, we've talked about constexpr in general, but in C++ 17, we were granted constexpr, which is another tool to help us at compile time. And since we've been talking about these metaprogramming scenarios or cases or features just in general in C++, I want to talk about this tool constexpr that could be useful for us. So anyways, without further ado, let's jump into CPP reference here. And I'm going to go ahead into the language here under statements and look at if here. And we're going to see here under the syntax, if constexpr, well, that's an option here. And we also have things like if const eval, which maybe we'll talk about in later videos here in C++ 23. But I want to just focus on if constexpr and give a really simple example for us today here. In fact, if we scroll down here just a little bit here, since C++ 17, we can look at the constexpr if statement. It'll scroll us down on the page a little bit, and we have a nice example here. So I'm going to leave this to the side. We're just going to kind of follow along here and see what the utility is of if constexpr. Okay, so just as a reminder for constexpr itself, if we have that on a function, for instance, let's just call it constexpr. Maybe there is a square function. Let's deduce the type here, auto. For the input, and then I'll just return input times input, something like that here. Let's make sure that it compiles. And it appears to. We basically have this. The compiler will try to evaluate this particular function, whatever I put in here. So if I do square, and let's do it with a print line here. Let's just do square of 4 equals, and I'll put in square of 4, right? The compiler is going to try its best at compile time to just evaluate this, right? If all the known values are known at compile time, it'll be 4 here. Now, you might have to encourage the compiler or sometimes use variables and so on to get this function to actually run. But in this case, all the information is known here, right? So at compile time, there really shouldn't be any additional information needed here. And we could try to prove it to ourselves. Let's do a print line here just to clean up our output here by putting this into Compiler Explorer. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I've gone ahead and opened up Compiler Explorer, pasted this in, and I should be able to find if this is, the value 16 somewhere, right? This is returning the correct result here. Let's see if I can find it here. Seems I can't find it here. Okay, so interestingly enough here, I mean, maybe there's not enough information here. Let's see if we can just encourage a little bit here. Constexpr auto, and let's just call this result something like this here. And let's paste in our result here just to add a little bit more clarity, because I wonder if print line or something isn't able to handle that. So let's see if this is able to figure out the result here. Let's see, it's giving us a syntax error. Nope, it should be okay. Okay, now let's try to see if we can search for the value 16. So you can find the value 4 here. And let's see if we can find our square function. Actually, this is probably a good sign if we can't find square there. But anyways, we want to separate it out here. But the point is here that, again, we have these compile time tools. So constexpr or const eval. Let's change this to const eval. Again, which is a C++ 20 or 23 feature, which again is a little bit of a stronger promise here. Okay. And sorry, this needs to be const init here to make sure that we initialize it here. Let's just give it a moment to compile, and I just need my reminders here that these have to be statically known here if I am initializing it. Now let me see if I did the ordering correctly. Let's see here. Okay, that was okay. There we go. So anyways, a few little reminders on our tools here, const init, const eval, on how those work. Now, let's just go ahead and do this example in Compiler Explorer here. And anyways, what we've been learning about is, if I have some template function here, let's just kind of set this up here. I'm just going to do something, simple like the example that we saw here. Let's just call it print, print something. And basically the idea is, based on the type that I provide here, I might want to handle this a particular way. Okay. And, my options are to either constrain this with things that we learned about like last time or previously, enable if t, and I got to remember to do, these were the mistakes I made last time, type name. Okay, I got to put in, something like is integral t, put in the type equals, null pointer. Let's see if I was able to get that all right in one go here. Looks like I did, which is pretty amazing here. I mean, with the compiler export, it makes it easy because it's underlying in real time as I make mistakes. And then I need to make sure I put the type here. There we go. Underscore t. Let's see, did I get it? We got to see if it compiling. It's thinking. You can see the little clock move around here. Oh, almost. Oops, that is integral v. Okay, for the value here. Okay. Anyways, as that's building, so it builds. Now I can decide here to have this version, and then I can come implement the other version here. That's going to be is, floating point here. Okay, and then I have the two different, specializations or whatever that I can choose. One of these is going to fail. And then again, we can do this with concepts. But what I'm proposing today with our tool is let's comment this out here. Okay, and let's use one of our compile time tools, just like we learned const eval and const init. Again, just reminders of those. And let's write this tool here. I'm going to get rid of this and just have the type here. And the use case here is if you have one specific, logical path that might be interesting to sort of optimize for. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, I could say if const expr. So if I know the type is, I'm going to use these same things like I was using down here, is integral, again, the value, t here. So I could just look at the type here. Then I want to basically be able to execute, this block of code here, okay? And then I could do something like else if, and then I could put in, again, const expr, so this will be evaluated at compile time, is floating point v, the type, and then do something else. And then if I put an else here, that'll also be like, let's just do a little printout, I don't know, or like, default path here. But let's go ahead and print these out here. And let's go ahead and just write out the type here, integral, and let's just write out floating point. And let's go ahead and test this out here, okay? So anyways, the point here, again, of what I'm showing is very much that, I have these different branches here that'll be compiled in for, if I have the integral version or the floating point version here. And let's name this something unique, myPrint. Maybe we can look at the code generation here. But let's actually run this here, myPrint. And let's get rid of all this compile time stuff here. That was a nice reminder, but we want to keep our code as clean as possible. myPrint, and let's just do 1. And I'll put an L just to be explicit with it. And let's go ahead and do 1.0f. So we have the floating point version here. We should be able to deduce, right? C++ is smart enough. You don't need to put in the types here, right? The compiler can deduce that, which is a very nice thing of modern versions of C++. But let's look at myPrint. Let's see if we can find the code generation. I mean, we are getting the right result here, integral and floating point. But let's kind of grep through this and find myPrint here. Okay. Well, clearly there is a call somewhere to myPrint float. Let's see if we can find that. So we can see the lingo here. And well, I've got a version of myPrint float. Now, do I have a version of myPrint long here? Okay. Well, let's search here. Well, it looks like I'm right on it actually. All right, I have the label here of myPrint long and myPrint float here. Okay, so I'm getting the two different sort of instantiations here which is nice to see here. Okay. Now let's just bring this full circle here. Just because I just want to output the assembly here and see if we can see it a little bit cleaner here. So let's delete this and paste this in. It's just a little bit easier to fold some of these lines here in Vim just as we wrap this up here. I mean, again, hopefully today was a very simple video for you just to see that we have these conditions here. But I want to look at the output just one more time here. Just so we can see everything that's going on today. So again, let's go ahead and build it and run it. Just so again, you can see we have two different paths that we're taking. And this time, let's build it. I'm going to use still G++ 14 because I want, on my system, that's the version that I can set 23 to. The main file and then -s will give me the assembly. And let's just open up another, let's just do a vertical split here and do main.s. Okay. Okay. And these should look like my print functions here. So if I search for them, let's see here. I mean, there's a few different ways we could do this just to see if we get two different versions of this function here with the two different paths, which is what I'm mostly interested in, or if it's just going to have two different like blocks of code or something. I've got my print IL. Okay, so it looks like this is probably the long or integer version of it. And then I've got the floating point version of it somewhere. Okay. Which looks like IFEDAT or something. Okay. So anyways, I'm just kind of grappling around this code. I can see the separate calls here. So if there's two separate calls in my code to the two separate functions, there must be two separate functions, right? That's another way to sort of grep this, but hopefully you can see that. We don't have to dig through all the assembly, but that's what it happens to be giving me here. And then again, if I'm doing smart enough stuff and able to figure out more stuff at compile time, you can see how this very quickly takes us down a specific hot path of code. Now we might have to be careful with this if it ends up creating like tons of different functions. So let's just do one more little example here before we wrap this up. But let's add, let's see here. Let me make sure I get my brackets right. So that'll end this thing here. Let's do else if const expr standard is bool. Okay, and then we could print out, bool. Okay, if you really want to see some of the code generation stuff, get rid of your prints and outline and all those sorts of things here. It'll really clean up your code here. But let's go ahead and compile this version here. Why isn't it working? Is boolean. Let's see if that's what it is. I don't know what the meta function is. Let's go ahead and look it up then, just to see. So again, there's all these type traits. I always forget them. Is bool. Well, maybe we don't have bool because I guess that's treated as a long here. Let's just do, I don't know, is const. Or let's see what we got here. Is integral, is floating point, is array. Let's do is array. Just something different. Is array. Okay, and we'll make this consistent. Let's see if that does the trick. Okay, that compiled. Let's reload the assembly. Now let's see, do I have my print? Let's see here. Which versions do I have? Let's go to our calls here. Let's see. Call my print. I guess I never call it, so maybe that code's never generated. Okay, I never have an instantiation of it. So again, that's a nice thing about templates. So I never have this path generated here. So let's actually, we got to make an array here. And I'm going to call this array of 4 ints. Let's pass in the array. Let's make sure it compiles. And then we'll reload it. So that was actually a nice reminder here. And let's see our calls here. My print here. Well, let's see if we could find. There they are. My print. And I see 3 different named functions here for each of our different arrays. Okay, so simple as that. Kind of neat here. to see that. But again, as mentioned, you can get this sort of combinatorial explosion, I suppose, and if you use this a lot. But where it is a really good tool, or a nice tool, I think, is for these scenarios where you have this sort of one-off, right? You don't have to dive into, right? I know I want my templates to be different, but my algorithms might be very similar, but I, maybe have one off case here. That's probably where I would use something like if constexpr, right? Based off one of these parameters to do something different, right? Like you might have an if constexpr in some container search algorithm that says, yeah, this is a huge container, so start doing some huge binary search that might allocate memory or something. But if you have a really tiny container and want to do a search, maybe just do a linear search, right? So you can have these sort of different branches, in your code based off of, various parameters if you're sorting an array or something of certain size, or searching one. But anyways, that's sort of the idea where this can come in handy, and it's nice to see these tools in C++. Other languages like D and Zig and some other languages really leaned into the compile time stuff to the point where they just try to execute stuff as much as possible. In C++, you have to be explicit, but it is clearly marked here, so we have this tool. So anyways, this went a little bit longer than I expected, so I'll go ahead and cut off this video here. And as always, I'll go just point you over to courses.msha.io if you want to go ahead and track your progress on all these other C++ lessons, because we're going to continue looking at some more metaprogramming stuff and other stuff that's kind of on the newer side of C++ as of this recording. So anyways, folks, thanks as always for your time and attention, and I'll look forward to otherwise seeing you in the next video.